We're talking about a word that is heavy. It's a word that echoes in our culture, in our lives, and in our hearts. That word is trauma. When we hear it, we often think of the big capital T traumas, war, severe abuse, or life-threatening accidents. And those are valid, profound wounds. But many of us are walking around with wounds we don't even have a name for. The smaller, lowercase t traumas. The trauma of being chronically misunderstood by your family. The trauma of having your feelings consistently dismissed. The trauma of high-stress environments, of subtle neglect, of feeling like you're fundamentally wrong. And the world, in its well-meaning way, gives us a lot of advice on how to heal. We're told to move on, to let it go, to think positive, to not dwell on the past. But if you're here, you know that doesn't work. You can't just move on from a wound that is still very much open. You can't let go of something that still has its hooks in you. The great Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung understood this on a level that, I believe, is revolutionary. He saw healing not as a process of erasing the past, of cutting out the wound, or of getting over it. For Jung, healing was not the right word. The word was integration. Jung believed that to truly heal, you cannot erase your wound. You must turn around, face it, listen to it, and bring it into your consciousness. You must make it a part of you, but not the whole of you. You must, as he would say, make the unconscious conscious, because if you don't, it will control you. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into the Jungian map of healing. How did he see trauma? Why does it have such a grip on us? And what, practically, is the path to integrating it, to finding the gold that is hidden in our deepest wounds? This is the journey from being a victim of your past to becoming a whole, integrated, and powerful individual. Part 1. The psychic wound and the complex. First, we have to understand how Jung saw trauma. He didn't use our modern word PTSD, yet a much more, I think, descriptive term, the complex. A trauma, for Jung, is a psychic wound. It is a moment of such intense, overwhelming emotional energy that our conscious mind, our ego, cannot process it. It's too much. It's a shock to the system. And so, to survive, the psyche does something brilliant. It splits. It takes that entire event, the memory, the feelings, the sounds, the thoughts, and it splinters it all from the main, day-to-day consciousness. It's like a psychic splinter. This splinter fragment is the complex. A complex is not just a memory. It is a living cluster of energy in the unconscious. It has its own charge, its own feelings, and its own will. It acts like a subpersonality. Have you ever had a trigger? A moment where someone says a simple, innocent phrase, or you hear a certain song, or you smell a certain smell, and BM, you're not your 35-year-old self anymore. You're a raging, terrified, or deeply sad 8-year-old. You are consumed by an emotion that is way out of proportion to the situation. In that moment, Jung would say you are possessed by the complex. Your conscious ego has been knocked offline, and a wounded 8-year-old splinter has taken the wheel. This is not your fault. This is not a flaw. This is a survival mechanism. Your mind brilliantly sectioned off that unbearable pain so that the rest of you, the ego, could keep going. It allowed you to get up, go to school, get a job, and survive. The first step of healing is to have gratitude for this mechanism. Your psyche did what it had to do to protect you. The problem is, what was once a survival suit of armor has now become a cage. You're no longer in that original, dangerous situation, but the complex doesn't know that. It is frozen in time, and it is still protecting by hijacking your life. Part 2. The mask we build, the survivor persona. So we have this splintered off, highly charged complex living in our unconscious. What does our conscious mind do? It builds a persona, a mask. We've talked about the persona before, the perfect mask. In the case of trauma, we build a specific kind of mask. We've talked about the persona before, the perfect mask. In the case of trauma, we build a specific kind of mask. Maybe we build the invulnerable persona. We say, nothing can hurt me. I'm feedy. I'm tough. We project an image of pure, logical strength. We deny all weakness. Maybe we build the perfect persona. We think, if I'm just good enough, perfect enough, and successful enough, I will control everything and I will never, ever feel that pain or helplessness again. Maybe we build the helper persona. This is the classic wounded healer. We become obsessed with healing other people. We become a nurse, a therapist, a rescuer, the go-to friend for everyone's problems so that we never have to turn around and look at our own wound. This persona becomes our new identity, but it is an identity built on rejection. It is built on the avoidance of the wound. And the wound itself? The part of us that is broken, weak, frightened, or a victim, that gets shoved hard into the shadow. This is why, after trauma, we often become intolerant of weakness. We judge victims. We have no patience for people who are too emotional or needy. Why? Because they are mirroring the very part of ourselves that we have locked in the shadow. We are projecting our own self-hatred onto them. Our life becomes a tense, exhausting performance of not being our wound. And the wound, the complex, just sits in the darkness, waiting. Part 3. The myth of moving on. Why suppression makes it worse. Our culture loves this persona. It rewards it. Wow, you're so strong. You're so resilient. You've really got it all together. This praise is like a drug. It encourages us to keep the mask on, to keep moving on. But in Jungian psychology, moving on without integration is just suppression. And what happens when you suppress a complex? When you leave that psychic splinter in the dark? It doesn't go away. It festers. It feeds on the darkness. It gains more power, not less. And it will find a way to be heard. It will show up as self-sabotage. You'll finally get a good, healthy relationship. And the complex will get triggered, convince you're about to be abandoned, and make you start a fight to get it over with. It will show up as projections. You will find yourself in blinding, uncontrollable rage at someone who, consciously, has done very little to deserve it. It will show up as anxiety and depression. A deep, hollow, and unnameable sense of wrongness, of emptiness, because you are living a half-life, completely disconnected from your own wounded self. You're not healing. You're just in a cold war with your own psyche. And the complex is winning. True healing, Jung would say, requires the exact opposite of moving on. It requires turning around. Part 4. The alchemical journey. How to truly heal. This is the how-to. This is the core of the work. In alchemy, the art that Jung studied so deeply, there was a belief that to make gold, you couldn't use actual gold. You had to start with the prima materia, the first matter, the base, worthless, rejected lead. Your trauma, your complex, your wound, that is your prima materia. You cannot get rid of it. It is the only ingredient you have to create your gold. Healing is the alchemical process of integration. It has 4 main stages. Step 1. The confrontation, making the unconscious conscious. First, you must stop running. You have to make the conscious, heroic decision to face the complex. This is the descent. It is the scariest part. It means that when you feel triggered, your new job is not to run by scrolling, drinking, or distracting. Your new job is to stay. We get curious. You sit with the fire of that emotion, and you say, okay, I'm here. What is this? This is why, for so many, a guide is essential. A good therapist is a temenos, a safe, sacred space where you can finally, safely, turn around and look at what's behind you. Step 2. Give the wound a voice, active imagination. You cannot logic your way out of complex. You cannot outthink it. Why? Because the complex doesn't speak logic. It speaks the language of the unconscious. Images, feelings, and symbols. You must learn to speak its language. This is the how of Jung's active imagination. You must give the complex a voice. You treat it like a real person in a room. You can do this in a journal. You literally write a script. You, your ego, hello. I know you're here. You're that feeling of panic in my chest. The complex, you let your other hand write, or just write what feels right. You're damn right I am, and you're in danger. You, what are you afraid of? What are you trying to protect me from? The complex, I'm protecting you from them, from being abandoned. from being humiliated the way we were. You are for the first time opening a dialogue. You're not fighting the complex. You're not being the complex. You're talking to the complex. This simple act is revolutionary. Step 3. From identified to witness, the birth of the self. As you have this dialogue, something magical happens. You begin to differentiate your ego, your I, from the complex. Before identified, I am worthless. I'm terrified. After witnessing, I, my conscious self, am holding a part of me, the complex that feels worthless and terrified. Do you see the difference? You're no longer drowned in the feeling. You are the compassionate container for the feeling. You have stopped being the victim of the wound and have become the loving witness to the wound. This is the birth of the self, the larger, wiser, whole version of you that can hold both your strength and your pain. Step 4. Integration and reparenting. This is the final, ongoing step. Now that you are the compassionate witness, you can do for that wounded part what no one else ever did. You can reparent it. When the complex, your inner child, flares up and says, "We're in danger. We're being abandoned," your conscious, integrated self can now turn inward and say, "I hear you. I feel your fear. Thank you for trying to protect me. But I want to let you know, I am 35. I'm in charge now. I can handle this. You don't have to run the show anymore. You can rest. I've got this." You're giving that wounded part the safety, love, and validation it never received at the time of the trauma. You're not getting rid of the complex. You're adopting it. You're bringing it home, out of the dark, cold shadow, and into the warm, safe light of your own consciousness. This is integration. This is wholeness. Conclusion, the wounded healer. As you do this work, the complex doesn't disappear. The scar remains. You will never forget what happened, but the charge is gone. The splinter, once festering, has been removed, cleaned, and integrated. The wound has healed over, and the scar tissue, as they say, is often the strongest part of the skin. This is the final, beautiful paradox of Jung's work. Your trauma, once integrated, becomes your gold. The part of you that was broken becomes the source of your deepest wisdom. The part of you that was in pain becomes the source of your deepest compassion. This is the archetype of the wounded healer. It is the person who can truly guide others through the darkness, not because they read it in a book, but because they have walked that path themselves. They know the map of the underworld because it is their home. Your trauma is not your life sentence. It is not the end of your story. It is your prima materia. It is your alchemical lead. It is the very, very thing that, when you finally find the courage to face it, will be transformed into your greatest, most compassionate, and most authentic strength. This is not an easy journey. It is the work of a lifetime, but it is the only work that matters. Be kind to yourself. Be patient, and be brave. You are not broken. You are on the path to becoming whole. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with me today. It is not an easy topic, but it is a vital one. If this conversation resonated with you, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe for more conversations like this one. And now, for our community, I want to hear from you. This is a brave and honest space. Without going into painful detail, what is one piece of gold, one bit of wisdom or strength that you have found in your own healing journey? Let's share our strength. Thank you for listening. Be well, and I will see you in the next one.